The market square of Thornwick was not a kind place. Merchants ruled here, not nobles, not warriors. Just men with coin and cruelty in equal measure. And the cruelest of them all was Merchant Gregor. He stood in the center of the square this morning, his whip coiled in his meaty fist, his face red with rage. At his feet, a wolf cub, small, maybe 4 months old, matted gray fur, ribs showing through thin skin, one ear torn, eyes that held too much intelligence for a simple beast. "Thieving cur!" Gregor bellowed. "Stealing from my stall! I'll teach you what happens to animals that take what's mine." The whip cracked. The cub yelped, tried to run. A chain around its neck yanked it back. Gregor had it tethered to a post like livestock. The whip fell again, and again. Blood spotted the matted fur. The cub whimpered, tried to make itself small, tried to hide from blows it couldn't escape. The crowd watched, some with pity, some with indifference, none with courage enough to intervene. Merchant Gregor owned half the market, employed half the town. Cross him, and you'd find yourself without work, without food, without hope. So they watched, and they did nothing. I watched from my vegetable stall, my hands clenched on the wooden counter until my knuckles went white. This wasn't the first time Gregor had beaten an animal. He'd whipped dogs, kicked cats, struck horses that didn't pull fast enough. But there was something about this wolf cub. Something in those 2 intelligent eyes. Something that made my heart clench. The whip fell again. The cub cried out, not a howl, not a bark, but something almost human in its pain. And I couldn't watch anymore. I left my stall, pushed through the crowd, ignored the whispered warnings. Don't interfere. It's just an animal. Gregor will turn on you. I didn't care. The whip was rising for another strike when I threw myself over the cub, covered its small, trembling body with my own, felt matted fur and blood-warm skin beneath me, felt the cub go still with shock. "What in the—" Gregor's voice was thunder. "Move, girl! This doesn't concern you." "No." My voice shook but held. "He's just a cub, just a baby. Please, stop. He's a thief, took bread from my stall. Animals must learn. He's starving. Look at him. He's half dead already." I kept my body over the cub, shielding him. "Please, I'll pay for the bread. Just stop." Gregor's face went from red to purple. "You'll pay? You? A worthless omega with a vegetable stall? You couldn't afford a crust of my bread. Then take it from my hide." The words came out before I could stop them. 20 lashes. Fair trade for a loaf of bread, but leave the cub alone. The crowd gasped. Gregor smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Very well." He raised the whip. 20 lashes. And when I'm done, maybe you'll learn not to interfere with your betters. The whip fell. I felt it cut across my back like fire, like lightning, like every nerve ending in my body screaming at once. The leather bit deep. I felt my dress tear, cheap fabric ripping like paper. Felt skin split beneath it. Felt hot blood well up and start to flow down my spine. I bit my lip, tasted copper, didn't scream, wouldn't give Gregor the satisfaction, kept my body curved protectively over the cub. The whip fell again, this time across my shoulders. The pain was blinding, white-hot, all-consuming. I felt muscle tear, felt the whip wrap around my side and catch my ribs. Still didn't scream, just gritted my teeth and held the cub tighter. Beneath me, I felt him trembling, felt his small body shaking with fear and confusion, felt his rapid heartbeat against my chest. "Stay still, little one," I whispered. My voice was steady despite the pain. "It's almost over. I won't let him hurt you." The cub made a small sound, not quite a whimper, not quite a whine, something that sounded almost like a sob. The whip fell again, and again, and again. I lost count somewhere around 10. The pain had become everything. My entire world was fire and blood and the desperate need to keep protecting this small creature beneath me. My vision was graying at the edges. I could feel consciousness slipping, could feel my body trying to shut down, trying to escape the pain. But I couldn't leave, couldn't abandon him. Had promised 20 lashes. Had to endure all 20, or Gregor might turn back on the cub. Might finish what he'd started. So I stayed conscious through sheer will, through stubborn determination, through the absolute refusal to let this baby suffer because I was too weak. Somewhere around 15, I felt the cub move beneath me, felt him twist his small body, felt tiny teeth close gently on the hem of my dress, not biting, not hurting, just holding, like he was trying to anchor me, like he was trying to give me something to hold on to, like he was trying to say, I'm here, you're not alone, stay with me. And that small gesture, that tiny show of awareness and compassion from a creature I was protecting, gave me the strength to endure. 16, 17, 18. My back was on fire. I could feel blood soaking through my dress, pooling beneath me, staining the gray fur of the cub I was protecting. But he was alive, breathing, safe beneath my body. That was all that mattered. 19. This one caught me across the back of my neck. I felt skin split, felt blood pour hot and fast, felt the world tilt dangerously. Just one more, and it would be over. Just one more, and the cub would be safe. 20. The final lash fell across my lower back. I felt something deep tear. Felt pain so intense the world went white. The whip stopped. I collapsed onto the cub, not deliberately, not gracefully. Just fell. My body gave out. My strength was gone. I had nothing left. I lay there in the dirt, blood from my back soaking into gray fur, consciousness fading like smoke. The last things I registered were strange, disconnected, dreamlike. The cub's body shifting beneath me, growing, changing, fur becoming skin, paws becoming hands, wolf becoming human. A low growl, not from the cub, from somewhere else, something massive and primal and absolutely furious. Enough! A voice like thunder, male, young, wrathful, the sound of chains breaking, metal snapping like thread. The cub, not a cub anymore, rising with me in his arms. You touched her. The voice was deadly calm now, worse than fury. You struck the woman who was protecting me. You drew blood from someone showing mercy. Your Highness, I didn't know. She didn't say... She shouldn't have needed to say anything. She was showing compassion to a helpless creature, and you whipped her. The last thing I heard was the young man's voice. Cold, final, absolute. Guards, take Merchant Gregor to the dungeons. He will await trial for assault on a member of the royal household. Then darkness took me, and I knew nothing more. Chapter 1. The Awakening. I woke to gentleness, soft blankets, a real bed, clean bandages wrapped around my back, the smell of healing herbs and expensive soap. This wasn't my tiny room above the vegetable stall. This was somewhere fine, somewhere nobles lived. I tried to sit up. Pain lanced through my back. I gasped. Don't move. A voice. Male. In commanding, but not cruel. The wounds are deep. You'll tear the stitches. I turned my head carefully. A young man sat in a chair beside the bed. Maybe 19 or 20. Dark hair, sharp features. Eyes the color of storm clouds, gray with flecks of silver. Familiar eyes, intelligent eyes. Where had I seen eyes like that before? Who are you? I managed. My throat was dry. Someone who owes you a debt. He offered me water, helped me drink. You saved my life. I saved a wolf cub. The memory came back. The market square, Gregor's whip, the small gray body I'd covered. "Where is he? Is he safe?" The young man's lips quirked. "He's safe, thanks to you." "And Gregor? Did he—" "Merchant Gregor is in the dungeons." The man's voice went cold. "Awaiting trial for assault on a member of the royal household." I stared. Royal household? I'm a vegetable seller. I'm nobody. "You threw yourself over the crown prince to shield him from a whip. That makes you somebody." The world stopped. "Crown prince? The cub was your Prince Aldrich Silverclaw." He inclined his head slightly. "Though you knew me as a wolf cub being beaten in the market square." My mind was reeling. "You were cursed? Trapped in wolf form?" "A punishment from my father, the Alpha King." His jaw tightened. "I spoke against him in open court, questioned his treatment of Omegas, called him cruel and unjust. So he cursed me to wolf form and cast me into the streets to learn humility. That's monstrous. That's my father." He looked at me with those two intelligent gray eyes. "I was supposed to spend a month living as the lowest of creatures, learning my place, learning to submit. And instead you learned what it's like to be beaten and helpless." "Yes, and I learned that a lowly Omega has more courage than my father's entire court combined." He reached out, touched my hand gently. "You saved me. Took a whipping meant for me. Endured 20 lashes to spare a wolf cub you didn't know. I couldn't watch him suffer." The words came out small. "He was just a baby. He was scared and hurt and you were brave." His hand tightened on mine. "Braver than I've ever been. Braver than anyone in my father's palace." Tears burned my eyes. "I'm not brave. I just couldn't stand by and do nothing. That's what brave means." He stood. "Rest now, heal, and when you're recovered, Oz will talk about your future." "My future? You think I'm letting you go back to a vegetable stall after you saved the crown prince?" He smiled. "You're under royal protection now, which means you're staying in the palace, where I can keep you safe." "Your Highness, I can't—" "You can. You will." He moved toward the door, paused. "What's your name?" I never asked. Mira Ashwood." "Mira." He said it carefully, like he was memorizing it. "Thank you, Mira Ashwood, for seeing me when I was at my lowest, for protecting me when I was helpless, for being brave when everyone else was a coward." He left. I lay in the expensive bed and tried to process what had just happened. The wolf cub I'd saved was the crown prince. I'd taken a whipping for royalty, and now I was under royal protection. My life had just changed completely. I just didn't know how much. Chapter 2. The Palace. I stayed in the palace for 2 weeks while my back healed. The royal healers tended me with a care I'd never experienced. Expensive salves that smelled of honeysuckle and moonflower. Silk bandages changed twice daily. Pain tonics that let me sleep without dreaming of whips and blood. My back was a mess of welts and cuts. 20 distinct lashes crisscrossing my shoulders and spine. The healers said I was lucky. The whip had missed my spine by inches in several places. A bit deeper, and I might have been paralyzed. But I wasn't. I'd heal. The scars would be permanent, raised lines of tissue that would map out exactly what I'd endured. But I'd survive. Prince Aldrich visited every day, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times if court business allowed. He'd sit in the chair beside my bed and just talk. About his childhood. About growing up knowing he'd be king. About his mother who'd died when he was young. About his father who'd grown crueler with each passing year. "He wasn't always like this," Aldrich said on the 3rd day. "When I was small, he was kind, gentle even. He'd carry me on his shoulders, teach me to hunt, tell me stories." What changed? My mother died, childbirth fever. She and my baby sister both. His hands clenched. He loved her so much. When she died, something in him broke. He got cold, distant, started seeing threats everywhere. started ruling through fear instead of love. That's when the cruelty started? Yes. Public whippings. Harsh punishments for minor crimes. Treating Omegas like property instead of people. He looked at me. I tried to speak against it. Tried to convince him to be merciful. He said I was weak. Said I didn't understand what it took to rule. Said I needed to learn my place. So he cursed you. Turned me into a wolf cub and cast me into the streets. Said I'd stay that way for a month. Said it would teach me humility. Teach me to submit. Teach me my place in the natural order. His voice was bitter. Instead, it taught me what it's like to be powerless. To be hurt and unable to defend myself. To watch people pass by and do nothing while I suffered. Until someone did something. Until you did something. He reached out, took my hand carefully, mindful of my injuries. I was in that market square for 3 days before Gregor caught me. 3 days of being kicked, on being chased, being hunted for sport by bored young nobles who thought tormenting a wolf cub was entertainment. His jaw clenched, and then Gregor caught me, chained me to that post, started beating me for stealing a crust of bread I'd taken because I was starving. And I thought, this is it. This is how I die, beaten to death in a market square while people watch and do nothing. But then I heard your voice, felt you cover me, felt you take the blows meant for me. He looked at me with those storm-gray eyes, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Because if there was still someone in this kingdom brave enough to defy a merchant to save a wolf cub, then maybe not everything was broken. Maybe there was still good in the world. I'm not good, I said. I couldn't watch him suffer. That's what good means, Shismira. Choosing compassion over cowardice. Choosing to act instead of standing by. Choosing to endure pain so someone else doesn't have to. He stood, paced to the window. The morning sun lit his dark hair with silver highlights. My father dies a little more every day. The wasting sickness has him. The healers say he has months, maybe weeks. He turned to face me. Which means soon, very soon, I'll be king. You'll be a good king. Will I? How do you know? I've never ruled. I don't know how to be anything except my father's disappointing son. You know how to be merciful. You know how to see suffering and want to stop it. You know what it's like to be powerless. I met his eyes. That's more than most kings ever learn. He crossed back to me, knelt beside the bed so we were eye level. Will you help me? When I'm king, will you be my conscience? My reminder of what it's like to be at the bottom? My voice of mercy when the court calls for cruelty? I'm a vegetable seller, Your Highness. I don't know anything about ruling kingdoms or court politics or, you know, about courage, about compassion, about choosing right over easy. His hand tightened on mine. That's what I need. Not another advisor who'll tell me what I want to hear. Someone who'll tell me the truth. Someone who'll remind me why mercy matters. I looked at this young prince. This man who would be king. This person who'd been beaten and humbled and was trying so hard to be better than his father. Okay, I said softly. I'll help you. Relief flooded his face. Thank you. On one condition. Anything. You have to promise me something. I held his gaze. Promise me that when you're king, you'll never forget what it felt like to be that wolf cub. Chained, helpless. Watching people pass by and do nothing. Promise me you'll remember that feeling when you make decisions about your kingdom, about your people, about who deserves mercy and who deserves punishment. I promise. He said it like a vow, like an oath. I'll never forget, and I'll never become him. Never become the kind of king who rules through fear and cruelty. I'll be better. I'll be the king you deserve. Not the king I deserve, I corrected gently. The king your kingdom deserves. He smiled. You're already making me better. Already pushing me to think bigger than just you and me. That's what you asked for. Truth, conscience, someone to challenge you. And I'm grateful for it. He stood. Rest now. Heal. And when you're recovered, we'll start changing this kingdom. Together. He smiled. Thank you. And I felt something shift, something settle into place, like a choice being made, like a future being forged, like everything I'd done, throwing myself over a wolf cub, taking 20 lashes, speaking truth to a prince, was leading to this moment, to this choice, to this man. Chapter 3. The Coronation. The Alpha King died 4 months later. Prince Aldrich became King Aldrich at 19 years old, and I stood beside him. Not as a servant, not as a subject, as his chief advisor, his voice of mercy, his reminder to choose kindness over cruelty. The court objected, violently. An Omega vegetable seller advising the king? Impossible, unacceptable, scandalous. Aldrich had ignored them all. If this woman saved my life when I was helpless, took a whipping meant for me, proved that courage exists in the most unexpected places. His voice had been iron. If anyone objects to her presence in my court, they can find employment elsewhere. No one had objected after that. Now I stood in the throne room on the day of his coronation, wearing fine clothes that still felt foreign, watching him kneel before the high priest, watching the crown, heavy, ancient, stained with the blood of countless kings, lowered onto his dark hair. Do you swear to rule with justice, to protect the weak, to defend the helpless, to be a king worthy of this kingdom? I do. Aldrich's voice rang clear. Then rise, King Aldrich Silverclaw, first of his name, defender of the realm, and may the moon guide your reign. He stood, turned to face the court. The crown sat heavy on his head, but his shoulders were straight. His eyes were clear. My first act as king, he announced, is to abolish the practice of public whippings in market squares. No creature, wolf or human, will be beaten for the crime of hunger. Not in my kingdom, not while I live, the court murmured, some approving, some shocked. My second act is to grant full citizenship to all Omegas within our borders. They will have the right to own property, to refuse unwanted advances, to be treated as full members of this kingdom, not as property to be bought and sold. The murmurs grew louder, more shocked, more uncertain. And my third act, he looked directly at me, is to claim Mira Ashwood as my mate, my Luna, my queen. The world stopped. I stared at him. Your Majesty, I felt it the day you saved me, like the mate bond, snapping into place while you bled in the dirt, shielding a wolf cub you thought was just an animal. He descended from the throne, crossed to me, took my hands. I've loved you since that moment, since you proved that courage and kindness exist even in the darkest places. But I'm nobody. You're the bravest person I know. You're my conscience, my reminder to be better, He stopped, smiled. My mate, if you'll have me. The court was silent, watching, waiting. I looked at this young king, this man who'd been beaten and cursed, who'd learned mercy through suffering, who was trying to build a kingdom based on kindness instead of cruelty, who was looking at me like I was the most important thing in his world. Yes, I whispered. I'll have you. He kissed me, right there, in front of the entire court, claiming me, marking me, making the bond public and undeniable. When we broke apart, he was smiling. Then I have one more announcement. He turned to face the court. The merchant Gregor has completed his exile. He returned to the kingdom yesterday, broken, humbled, having learned what it's like to be powerless and vulnerable. He paused. I'm granting him clemency and employment in the royal stables, where he'll learn to care for animals instead of beating them, where he'll learn that mercy is stronger than cruelty. The court erupted, some in approval, some in outrage, some in confusion. But Aldrich just smiled, took my hand, led me to the throne. "This is the kingdom we're building," he said quietly. "One where courage is valued over coin, where kindness is stronger than cruelty, and where even a lowly Omega can become a queen." He sat on the throne, pulled me down beside him. The Luna's crown was brought forward, placed on my head. "All hail Queen Mira!" someone shouted. The court took up the cry. "All hail the Queen! All hail King Aldrich!" I sat beside him, wearing a crown I'd never imagined, claiming a title I'd never dreamed of. All because I'd thrown myself over a wolf cub in a market square. All because I'd chosen courage over cowardice. All because I'd seen a helpless creature suffering and decided that wasn't acceptable. Aldrich squeezed my hand. "Thank you." "For what?" "For saving me, for teaching me, for choosing me." He smiled. "For being brave when everyone else was a coward. Thank you for seeing me, for valuing me, for building a kingdom where mercy matters more than cruelty." We sat together, king and queen, wolf and Omega, bound by scars and sacrifice, and a mate bond forged in blood and dirt. The merchant had whipped the wolf, but the Omega had shielded him, and in doing so, had changed everything. Epilogue. 5 years later. The market square of Thornwick was a different place now. No whipping posts, no public beatings, just honest merchants selling honest goods. And in the center, a statue, a woman kneeling, arms spread over a small wolf cub, protecting him with her own body. Bronze captured the moment perfectly. The courage, the sacrifice, the love. The inscription read, "Here, mercy defeated cruelty. Here, an Omega saved a king. Here, everything changed." I stood before it with Aldrich, our 3-year-old son between us. A small boy with dark hair and gray eyes and his father's gentle nature. "Tell me the story again, Mama," he said, "about the wolf and the whip." "Again? I've told you 100 times. I like it." He looked up at me with those serious gray eyes. "Tell me again, please." Aldrich smiled, nodded. "Very well." I knelt beside our son. Once upon a time, a cruel merchant was whipping a wolf cub in the market square, and a vegetable seller saw it happening, and she couldn't stand by and do nothing. I told the story, watching our son's face as he listened with rapt attention, watching Aldrich's eyes soften as he remembered. "And that's why we have the statue?" our son asked when I finished. "Oh, to remember? To remember that one act of courage can change everything." Aldrich lifted him into his arms. "Your mother saved me, and in doing so, saved the entire kingdom. I want to be brave like Mama. Then be kind, be merciful, protect those who can't protect themselves." I touched his small face. That's what real bravery is. We walked through the market. People bowed, not out of fear, out of respect, out of love for the king who'd learned mercy, for the queen who'd taught it to him. Gregor's son ran one of the stalls now, selling bread, honest prices, kind to animals. His father had died 2 years ago, reformed, peaceful, grateful for the second chance he'd been given. "Do you ever regret it?" Aldrich asked quietly as we walked. "Taking those lashes? Changing your entire life for a wolf cub?" "Every day," I said. He looked at me, hurt. I smiled. "I regret that I hesitated for even a second, that I watched him suffer before I moved, that I didn't act faster." I took his hand. "But I don't regret shielding you. I don't regret the scars on my back. I don't regret choosing courage over cowardice." I looked at our son, at the kingdom we'd built, at the life we'd made. How could I regret any of this? Aldrich pulled me close, kissed my forehead. I love you, my brave queen. My conscience, my reminder to be better. I love you too, my merciful king, my mate, my everything. We stood in the market square where it all began, where blood had stained the dirt, where a whip had cracked, where an Omega had chosen sacrifice over safety, and changed the world. One act of courage, one moment of mercy, one choice to protect the helpless. That was all it took, to break the cycle of cruelty, to forge a kingdom based on kindness, to prove that even the lowest could save the highest, and in doing so, become something greater than either had ever imagined.